Welcome to the Harris County Board of Commissioners meeting on August the 20th. We're glad you're here. We will have the invocation first by our County Attorney, John.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Please pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for our many blessings that you have bestowed upon us that we realize. We also thank you for the blessings that you bestow upon us that we take for granted on every day. But we most of all thank you for your grace and salvation. Tonight we pray that you would bless this commission as it deliberates the business of the county, and that everything that this commission does tonight will be acceptable in your sight. We pray for our country. We pray that you will help all of us realize and understand why we're here and why our forefathers came here, is to honor you. We pray for all these things in your name. Amen. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on our agenda tonight is the approval of the minutes of the regular session of August the 6th, the planning session of August the 5th, and the public hearings of August the 13th. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve all three.
Okay, motion to approve all three. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Is there any changes or any discussion, any questions? All right. All those in favor of approving all three? Okay. Motion carries. Is there an appearance of citizens?
Two people signed up, but they're about topics that are on the agenda.
Okay. All right. The next item on our agenda is the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights public hearing. This is our third and final public hearing. It's where you can make comments concerning the proposed tax millage increase, limited to 5 minutes. Commissioner Zerner is our timekeeper. And when you come up, please give your name and your address. And I will open the public hearing, and our county manager, Randy Dowling, will read the legal notification and provide some other information. The public hearing is open.
Madam Chairman, Board of Commissioners, the board approved the annual budget on June 18th of this year after many public workshops and public hearings. This is what the annual budget looks like, and it has been posted on the county's website during its proposal and after its acceptance. So it is on the county's website in its entirety at www.harriscountyga.gov. And the approved budget totaled $39 million. And it began on July 1st and will end on June 30, 2020. Of the entire total budget, the general funds portion, where most departments are located, like Parks and Rec, community development, finance, animal control, all those kind of departments. Of the total $39 million budget, the general fund consists of $23.1 million, and that's where property taxes is the primary funding source for the general fund. Of the $23.1 million general fund budget, $10.64 million is needed from property taxes alone to fund the county government for 1 year. So it costs the county $39 million to run a year, but of that, $23.1 million is consisting of the general fund, of which it is property tax based. The general fund this year was balanced using $1.4 million from reserves, or previous year's savings from the general fund and the solid waste fund. However, to adequately fund the approved budget, have less reliance on other funds, such as the solid waste fund, and to balance the budget, which is not sustainable over the long term, in order to prepare for future growth that we know is coming, and to sufficiently fund upcoming projects, such as the implementation of the upcoming employee compensation plan, update of the land use and development codes, clean up Ellerslie Park from the March 2019 tornado, restore and develop Ellerslie Park, maintain the new rails to trails linear park that is under construction currently, and to generally replace outdated equipment and vehicles, a property tax rate increase should be considered. The county's property tax rate now is 8.63 mills, 8.63. And the proposed increase is to go to 9.38 mills, a 0.75 mil tax increase, or 9.36% above the rollback rate of 8.577. This proposed property tax rate will increase, will increase the county's taxes, not the city, not the school board, but this proposed property tax rate increase will increase the county taxes paid by $64.24 on a $200,000 home. Even with this proposed property tax increase, the overall property tax rate, when you factor in and consider the county and the Board of Education, will be reduced as compared to last year, since the Board of Education is decreasing their millage rate by 1.3 mills. So the Board of Education has already reduced their millage rate by 1.3 mills, and the county is proposing to increase its rate by 0.75 mills, which is an overall reduction in the total tax rate as compared to last year. Again, this is the last of 3 state-required public hearings, and after this public hearing, the board will consider setting the millage rate on item number 6. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone who would like to speak, make any comments about this proposed millage increase?
I'll start.
Okay.
Somebody's got to go first. My name is Connie Guy, and I own 3 properties in Harris County. I live at 982 Bug Road, which is off Hopewell Church, and I have 2 single-family homes in Pine Mountain that I have as rental properties.
Excuse me, what was your name?
Guy, G-U-Y. I consider myself a fairly informed resident of Harris County. I'm active in local events. I pay attention to what's going on. Last year when the millage rate went up, I agreed. I thought, yes, we've had a good 15 years, and we need to do a little bit with the times. I supported it, completely agreed with it. And as the budget came out, I don't know who else can raise their hand. I read all 214 pages or whatever. Because I wanted to. I felt before I should speak on this, I should. And I was okay with it. I listened to the budget. I listened to the rationale. Read all the different pages. Yeah, justified it. And I was accepting that. New taxes were going to go up. Love the thing, $60 on 200,000. Good sell there, good sell. And I can handle that. It's not a problem for me. But then I went back and I watched all the videos of the earlier meetings such as this. Wanted to see what people actually said. I heard a lot of fear, heard a lot of anger, heard some very articulate arguments against this. I looked at what they said. There were people like myself who personally can absorb this impact. But I heard people like me speak on behalf of people who couldn't. And I appreciated that. And so I've thought about that. And I know that this current administration is living with some decisions that were made by prior administrations. Y'all can't do anything about that dam. You can't. You're stuck with it. Got it. There are other decisions that were made pre-2007, before the real estate bust, that would be within your power to have changed in the last 12 years. We're currently making decisions based on some of that decisions that were made before the economic decline. I've thought about that, and I've changed my position. I'm opposed to this millage increase. I appreciate everything that the county has done, the time that's invested. This is a thankless job that you're doing. You've done it for many, many years. But on top of last year's increase, I think that's going to put a very sudden and hurtful impact on a number of people in our county that may not have flexibility that I do. And in the small print, one of those old things, because I like small print, is that there's potential that county, and there are big numbers here, big numbers, for some future infrastructure may, if the development doesn't happen the way we project it will, be absorbing up to, that's an up to, should be some offsets in there, maybe up to, almost maybe a $10 million increase for some infrastructure. I don't think it's unrealistic that a recession might be coming. Lots of indicators that way. If that happens, those new houses may not get sold. That burden, that potential burden, could fall back on people who are current homeowners, property owners in this county. I would respectfully ask that you stick with the conservative fiscal values that you've had over these many, many years and not increase the millage rate. One minute. I am in Coach Grant's district, had the opportunity to sit across from him at a dinner at Sunnyside. As far as I can tell, you have one platform. You're not going to raise taxes. You are opposed to tax increases. That's what I took away from that time that we spent together over that dinner. I would ask that the rest of you consider that and not increase this millage rate. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me make one correction, if I might.
Certainly.
The tax millage rate increase was actually in 2017. There was not one last year.
Correct. Okay,
Just
sorry.
That's
Sorry.
fine. Just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make comments?
My name is Stephen Waite. I live at 52 Rosewood Court here in Fortson. I just wanted to find out what the 2.5% cost of living allowance was and how much that is and who that applies to.
This public hearing, sir, we can be glad to talk to you about that offline.
Okay.
But actually, this public hearing is to just discuss whether you're for or against.
Okay.
For
my
We'll
job-
be glad
Right.
to work
Okay.
with you offline.
All right, so let me just say that for my job, I work for an HVAC company based out of Columbus, and I don't get a living allowance. I don't get any more money on top of my salary when I work there. We know that some of the positions that are on the employment opportunities page, whether it be a lifeguard or a clerk, it only shows maybe $12 or $13 an hour, and sometimes that can't be considered a living wage for some people, but it shouldn't be something that they depend on. So having an increase in living allowance, what are these county employees doing with the money that they're earning, like the rest of us? Can I get a living allowance? You know, I work for the fire department. I get $0.00. I get up at 2 a.m. when y'all have heart attacks or your house is on fire. So, you know, is there a way that I can get a housing allowance? Well, I don't want to put the burden on everybody else. Can we save some money and just eliminate the living expenses? That doesn't make sense to me. So if we're trying to save money and cut back, let's just go with what there is and see how much we can save with the 2.5 or eliminate the housing allowance. That's what I have to say.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Anyone else?
Gary Schuler, 5,500 Highway 85, Ellerton. Briefly, I want to say that I'm one of those people that the madam talked about earlier, that I don't have an earned wage. I live on a small retirement. I don't have the capacity to make a lot of money for expenses. I am opposed to the tax increase that we had one, as you say, in 2017. What was it, 2%? 2.5%? Pretty good increase. And now we're facing another one. Some people can absorb that, but some of us can't. And So I do understand there's an opposition to that.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to comment. No one else?
My name is Megan Gunther. I live at 111 Hamilton Mulberry Grove Road, Catala, Georgia. I already came and attended one of these meetings, so I wasn't really planning on speaking, but I'll go ahead and do it again. I'd like to address the Board of Education rolling their back. They're rolling back because they did not refund it's refunding money to us from a bond that was already paid off, and they shouldn't have taken it out. So they're rolling back extra to basically refund us our money. So to say that they're giving us a refund really isn't really necessary. They're paying us back money they took accidentally, but it's not that big. It will be going back up again, and they've already said that because of the new middle school. I am against tax increase. We just had one in 2017. We have more homes coming in every single year, an average of 200 homes a year the last 2 years, and it's expected to increase over the next couple of years. That's more tax money coming in, income taxes coming in, and a 2.5 millage rate. 2017 was a significant increase to us. I think it was 11. We saw a further increase to 11,148,455, which was an increase of 49.4% from 2016, which is mostly due to the tax rate increase. We are going to be cutting spending from our budget for the dam. We are using SPLOST money now for the community development, so we're seeing a significant decrease in our general fund. I support increases for our employees because we underpay them grossly already. And everything on this list that you've given us is pretty much already been approved on the budget for 2019. The only thing that was a big red flag to me is the pending costs and development and improvements associated with the growth project, which according to the meeting I watched the other day was a special meeting about the growth project that was said that the county is expected to pay $10 million for the water lines. I don't agree with spending tax money on private development. That is for one community. 1,100 acres is a giant community, but it's for one. No one else is going to get that upgrade. I won't get the upgrade. I won't have larger water lines. I'm not tying into the sewage system that's going to be down the street from me. I have no benefit, and everyone in this room, unless they sell their homes and buy in the grove, will not have that benefit either. So I don't think we should be funding it. We've had 12 years. We approved it in 2007. We've had 12 years to think about how we were going to fund that money. And no one's done anything. And now we're sitting here scrambling for extra money to pay for a project that's been 12 years in the making, and I don't agree with it. I think that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else? No more comments? All right, there are no more comments, then we'll close the public hearing. We'll move down our agenda. There's nothing under old business. Does anyone have anything? Under new business, we have Mr. Jim Livingston, who's the Executive Director of the River Valley Regional Commission. Is here to talk us through about our RVRC.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to ask Nancy if she will help me with a couple of items to hand out to you all. Patty Cohen, who has been our executive director for many years, and working with you all on a number of different things. Nancy, these first. Thank you. Patty Cohen, who's our executive director for a number of years, retired in April. She's worked with Harris County on a number of different projects. The board asked me to serve in the role of executive director. And I've been going around to counties throughout our region, just to introduce myself, make sure you all have my contact information, make sure you all have my face, and be able to answer any questions, and remind you all some of the things that we do as a regional commission. Ms. Lane, of course, serves on our board and on the executive committee of our board and knows quite a bit about what we've been doing. This sheet here, and I'll go through this briefly, I'm not going to read everything, don't worry, but I will do want to highlight some things for you. And then we'll go, and there are 2 projects that I'm working on this year that I'm going to make sure that you guys are aware of. We'll go over this first, and I'll talk about the 2 projects. The 2 projects will be Census and the TIA update. On this, one of the projects, one of the core reasons for us and the core things we do is comprehensive planning. You all, of course, just went through your comprehensive planning update recently. We did that with Harris County and all the towns and cities in Harris County. It's a complex process, and it took quite some time working through the service delivery strategies and all the different issues with those. The work that we do in planning really gets to the heart of what it is that the River Valley Regional Commission has been doing. We were actually started in the 1960s as a planning and economic development agency. We were started from the Economic Development Administration, federal EDA, to look at comprehensive planning and economic development issues in this region. We are the federally designated economic development district for this area of Georgia. And that's a core portion of what we do around comprehensive planning. And that would mean one of the things that we would do is that there is a development of regional impact called a DRI, a development of a regional impact. That's something that we would look at and make sure and do an evaluation and look at what's going there. The workforce development piece for us, for you all in Harris County, is not as applicable. We work in 16 counties in west central Georgia. The 8 eastern counties in our region, or the old Middle Flint area, they have a workforce area that we administer. The 8 western counties in the region, the lower Chattahoochee area, your all's workforce development agency is with the city of Columbus. And I would encourage you all to use them. If you all know of folks that need training, need some help on getting some resources to be retrained, the workforce development WEOA boards are outstanding sources to help with those issues. And I would encourage you all, if you're not working with them directly, to Howard Pendleton and the City of Columbus would be glad to help you all with that. I touched a little bit about economic development. It is somewhere, it's actually the area I came from within the River Valley Regional Commission, and actually where my background is in. One of the things that we do is write a comprehensive economic development strategy. This is a complex document for us because it's covering 16 counties of the region. It covers Fortune 1000 companies headquartered in Columbus, but it also covers small, rural farm communities. And trying to find an economic development strategy that covers all of those bases is difficult. But what we did is we used the economic development plans from the communities themselves. The Columbus 2025 plan, Sumter County wrote a One Sumter initiative. They actually were able to raise $2.8 million in Sumter County to fund their economic development initiative. And Randolph County down in south on 27 also wrote a very robust, right-sized economic development strategy for their rural communities. So we blended those economic development plans, and that gave some guidance on economic development issues. Just as it's designed to be a fairly easy access document for you all to look at. That is on our website. We also have revolving loan funds that we want to participate with you all. Our sweet spot on these is trying to get loan money to individuals, small businesses, in participation with the local bank. That's what we like doing best. And it does a couple of things. One is it reduces the risk for the bank, so they're more willing to make the loan. And it will blend a capital stack for an investor that will allow them to do a project that they might not otherwise do. And we've worked with a number of local banks, and we want to continue to do that. I'm going to pass on the Area Agency on Aging for a minute and let Katie Howard come up here and talk to you a little bit about that. She is our aging director, and she can give you an update on those issues and those things that she looks at. In historic preservation planning, Allison Slocum in our Columbus office is our historic preservation planner. She is able to help with looking at a number of different things, including Section 106 reviews. That's a federal requirement anytime you touch federal money. If you all have problems with that, touch base with us, and we'd be glad to help you get that process moving and moving along. Our GIS systems are very important. The graphic information system allows us to do some mapping, some robust mapping that most communities don't have the capacity to do. And we've been working with you all here in Harris County and in the communities to help with that, from zoning maps in Pine Mountain to updating other databases. Our public administration and grant writing is a large part of the program that we serve and we provide. We've worked with you all in Harris County on CDBG projects in the past. We're able to call. And Pine Mountain currently has a CDBG project to address a pretty substantial hole they have along Turkey Creek. And finally, the transportation planning. I'll go into this in a little bit more detail when we talk about the TIA funding. Another component of transportation planning for us is helping with busing systems and trying to get people from point A to point B. We help run a program in the southern part of the region, but we also work with the state providers to help coordinate that transportation system. Kate, can I get you to come up here and talk a little bit about the aging program?
We have the same area as the Regional Commission because we're just another department within the Regional Commission. Our programs are for seniors, persons over age 60, and persons with disabilities. I want to thank the county for all y'all do for our senior center here in Hamilton, or right outside of Hamilton, because y'all do provide a lot of support. You did the application to get the building, and that's one of our best senior centers, really honestly. It's really nice. If y'all haven't been in it lately, I really encourage you to, because it's pretty cool. And we have a real good site manager there that's keeping things moving. You're getting, right, the wrap card. It's got a magnet on it. If you don't like the card, throw it away. Keep the magnet, put it on your refrigerator, because if you don't know anybody now that needs help when they're a senior citizen or they've got disability, you probably will. It might be tomorrow, it might be next week, it might be next year. We have a database of over 3,000 local resources, and I'll promise you that not all of them are free. Actually, most of them are not free. But when you're searching for help, having some place to start makes a big difference, because a lot of times these things happen suddenly, or maybe the decision is made suddenly, and so you need resources. We've worked with people that need to find assisted living, and they don't really know how to do it. We've got the database with all that. We've got people that call in that need help with homemaker or personal care. Personal care is things that affect your body, washing your hair, taking a bath, things like that. And what we are really trying to do is keep people in their homes as long as possible. I don't want in any way say that nursing homes are not here and we don't want them. They serve a very important purpose for people that need care 24/7. I can't imagine there not ever being a need for them. But if you can stay at home with a little bit of help, most people would rather do that and maintain their independence. If you've ever had to be dependent on anybody for any reason, you know how frustrating that can be. It can make you cranky, to put it mildly. So that's what we're trying to do, is to help people do that. One of the ways we help is we have an assistive technology lab. And if you're like me, the first time I heard assistive technology, I thought Robbie the robot. And I'm like, what is this about? But assistive technology can be a cane, it can be glasses, or it can be really high-tech stuff too. I don't know how to work that, so I can't really explain it to you, except that there's cool stuff that we can explain, people in the office can explain to you. But think about simple things. If you've got arthritis in your hands and you can't grip, you don't have those fine motor skills anymore, eating can be difficult, writing can be impossible. So one of the things that I think is so brilliant, and why didn't I think of it, it's basically a squeezy ball, a softball. They drill a hole in it, you put your pen in it or your pencil, all of a sudden you're writing with your hand like this. Why didn't I think of that? Now, I would be rich instead of that. But there's some other things like that that are really simple that make a huge difference in independence. We have one of our case management clients could not get out of bed by themselves. They were in a duplex and they had to bang on the wall when they wanted to get out of bed, and if the neighbor heard them, they would come over and help them get out of bed. Otherwise, they laid in bed all day. And we don't even know how they went to the bathroom. So our case manager went and met with them. That was the biggest need, is to get out of bed. Well, there's something called a bed assist handle. There's no electronics involved. It basically gives you a way to pull yourself up. The woman cried, because for the first time in years, she could get out of bed whenever she wanted to. So things like that we can help with. We can't buy them for you, but we can show them to you. We have a technology lab in our office in Columbus and in Americus, and we would love to demonstrate. They tell me we can't bring everything as much as I would like to, but we could bring a few things out to demonstrate to different clubs. As I tell folks, we go to church groups, we go to garden clubs, we go to any 2 or more people, we'll be there. So just ask us, and we'd love to come and talk to you about that and things, other services that we provide. And if you have any questions, please call us. We'd love to talk to you more. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've handed out a couple of maps, and there's a good news and bad news map. Let me start with the bad news. This map of the state of Georgia, you'll see what this is measuring is what the census calls hard to count communities. That means these are people that did not respond to the 2010 census. If you look at the region we serve in west central Georgia, you will notice that quite a number of the communities we serve were considered hard to count. That's a problem for us. The political representation and ultimately the financial apportionment matters greatly and is based on the census. And if we have parts of our region that are hard to count, that means we are all, in this part of Georgia, being underrepresented and undersupported. Our goal for the 2020 census is to make sure that we can turn some of this red, some of these areas that are hard to count, to make sure that they are easy to count. The census has a tool for that, and we're following that tool. It is called a complete count committee. Each county has a complete count committee to work on to be sure that you are moving forward and making sure that you get information out about the census count. We've got a lot of work to do in our region. The second map is the good news map for you all. Harris County did not have a census tract that was considered hard to count. So that is good for you all. But I would encourage you to continue to look at a complete count committee here in Harris County to make sure that you get the word out. The census in 2020 is going to be different than the census in 2010. And it is, if only for the reason that the information and disinformation and lack of trust in the census is going to be a challenge for us. So we have headwinds in the region on all of this. We want to make sure that we get out in front of this as much as we can. We've been working with you all in Harris County on local update of census addresses. That information is just getting back to us from the census. Randy, I think Mariana will probably be following up with you on a couple of things here in Harris County. But we have been working on this for the last couple of years. But ultimately, it is going to be individuals filling out those census forms. And ultimately, you all in Harris County making sure people know and trust that they are able to fill out the census forms through those complete counts. The second project I've been working on, and we want to make sure that it's on your all's radar, is update of the TIA, Transportation Investment Act. We passed this as a region in 2012. We were one of only 3 regions in the state to pass this tax. You all have seen some of the impacts of this just driving through on 27. And you guys have seen some positive impacts from this as the region. We are looking to put the roundtable back together and look at getting this process started again so that we can go to the voters again at the right time. And when that right time is, we'll be up to the roundtable. What projects get put on a transportation special purpose local option sales tax, and when that goes to voters are political decisions. Our goal is to get it to a political body as quickly as possible, and that's the roundtable. So for Harris County, I believe you all are discussing that today, and I believe Mayor Trott from Pine Mountain will be the city representative. Each county has one county official, one mayor from one jurisdiction from the county. So we will have 32 members on that TIA roundtable. The meeting will be September 4th in Buena Vista at 10:30 in the morning. With that, do you all have any questions of me?
No questions. I just want to say, Jim, that RVRC has helped us greatly in the past. And we appreciate that. Your wealth of information and knowledge, and helped us recently with our comp plan, as you mentioned. But we really appreciate that.
Well, we try, and please ask us. We may not know, but we may know who doesn't.
That's correct. And Katie, I have had occasion to use the area agency on aging, which I knew nothing about, and with my mom, and it just so much information that helped me, and I was trying to do this long distance. Yes, so it was great. I knew nothing about it, somebody recommended it, so you do great work. Thank you. You really do. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you all.
All right, and then follow on to that, our next item on the agenda is the appointment to the T-SPLOST Regional Roundtable. With the upcoming expiration of the current T-SPLOST, the River Valley Regional Commission, RVRC, is initiating efforts to have a second T-SPLOST, which would take effect immediately upon the expiration of the current T-SPLOST, which is December 31st of 2022. The Transportation Investment Act, TIA, calls for a regional transportation roundtable comprised of 2 members, as Jim said, from each of the 16 regional counties. Of the 2 members, one is to be either the chairperson or CEO of the county, and the other is to be a mayor, and that will be Mayor Trott from Pine Mountain, of one of the municipalities. And we need to appoint the current chairman of this Board of Commissioners to the T-SPLOST Regional Roundtable. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second? Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any questions? All those in favor? All right, the motion carries. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is surplus property. It's being requested that the railroad signs and markers for the Rails to Trails project in Pine Mountain be declared surplus in order to donate some to the Chipley Historical Society Museum in Pine Mountain for the display of historical artifacts. We have a citizen who has agreed to restore these historical signs for the railroad, and then these will be placed in the Chipley Historical Society Museum in Pine Mountain. They have agreed to accept these. So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
There's
Okay. There is a motion and a second. Any discussion or any questions?
What's the cost of the restoration again?
I'm sorry.
What's the cost of the restoration?
That would have to be,
Out of curiosity.
It won't be anything. There won't be
to the
anything.
county?
None to the county?
There is none to the county. None to the county. We have. All right, any other discussion or questions? All right, all those in favor? Okay. That's approved. All right, the next item on the agenda is to set the millage rate for the coming year. The county is required to hold 3 public hearings due to a tentative increase in the millage rate from 8.63 to 9.38. Public hearings were held on August the 13th at 11 a.m. and 6:30, and during tonight's meeting. If there are any questions by the board, Wayne Morris, I believe is there. And if there are any questions, Wayne is here to take any questions, and the county manager also. Anybody have any questions on this? The county's millage rate would be 9.38, and the school millage rate would be 17.26, for a total of 26.64. Is there a motion to set the millage rate at 9.38, a portion of West Point within the county at 5.628, and to authorize the tax commissioner to collect the school board's millage of 17.26? Is there a motion?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. And I'd like to refer to a number of citizen comments that we've had. We've certainly taken all of those in. We've listened to them. There are a lot of valid points. And you know, we went for a long, long time without raising the millage at all. And that was really great to be able to do that. But it has a second side to it that has come up to catch us. And that is that we kept putting off some things that we really probably needed. Primary among those is keeping our employees' salaries such that we can retain our employees who we have. The last 2-3 years have been really tough on that. You've all heard the sheriff's comments about it, and his loss of deputies, and overwhelmingly our calls and emails have been, hey, let's increase taxes, let's pay our employees what we need to keep them. I understand that some people do not work where that they do not maybe have annual increases. We have tried to do that the last few years because one of the big things that comes to hurt you is you hire an employee, he works for you for 10 years, and you hire another employee in the same grade, and that employee comes in making pretty close to the same salary as the person who's been working hard for you for 10 years. And that's called compression, because if you do not have a way of keeping ahead, you have to certainly be aware of what the marketplace is demanding. And if the consumer price index or standards go up 2% a year, if your employees don't get 2% for that year, they fall backwards. So they're actually losing salary. We have tried, since we did our last salary survey, to at least keep up with that so that our employees did not lose ground. But that still didn't help the employees that we've had for a long, long time. So that's one of the big issues that we consider. And we have commissioned a new salary survey, and we'll be guiding accordingly on that. Take a look at it and try and maybe even cover some of this compression issue that we face. We've tried to do it the last 3 years, but we just could not do it because we were trying to catch up with other things that we needed to do to keep the county functioning efficiently. There are reasons why we need it. Yes, we don't like to have to go up on the millage rate, but we have to certainly keep the long-range benefits, well-being of the county in mind. And that means we've got to keep equipment, replacing equipment. County Manager Dowling has instituted a program where we are each year budgeting a certain amount of money to replace that equipment, so that, if we all of a sudden have 2 garbage trucks go down, we don't have to come up with $500,000 or whatever that cost is to replace 2 garbage trucks out of a budget that we have not included. So we do have that, and we're trying to handle that each year. We have handled the sheriff's, he gets 5 new cars a year, but still some of those vehicles, they have close to 200,000 or over 200,000 miles on them. So that does wear out, equipment wears out, and we have to keep up with it. There are a number of reasons. There are good points on both sides of that. It is not certainly an easy decision for the Board of Commissioners, but I guess having been on the commission the longest, I have seen, and I've patted myself on the back along with our other commissioners many times, that yes, we didn't raise the millage, but I think there are times when we probably should have to kind of lessen the impact and allow us to move forward without creating some deficits. So with that said, I will make the motion that we, as Chairman Langston stated, I will make that motion to approve.
Okay, there's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I'll second that. Just as everybody in this room, I'm a citizen of Harris County too, and I don't necessarily want to pay more taxes. I mean, I work a minimum of 5 days a week now to have what I have and survive. But however, we have this huge compression issue with our employees. As a growing county, we're at the point you can grow for so long, and the employees we have can handle, what they can provide services. But at a certain point, and we're to that point now where we need more employees. So there's going to be, that's another burden, another cost for us. And like Chairman Lang, mentioned, keeping the well-being of the county in mind, there is a need, unfortunately, there is a need to raise the millage rate. And so I second that.
All right. Any other discussion?
I wanted to say a few things about it also. In 2017, we realized that we were continuing to balance the budget with our reserves. And we saw our reserve funds getting tragically and scary as they went down every year. And we had to do some things that were absolutely necessary, such as a new 911 system 2 years ago, which was well over $1 million, because the system that we had used for 20 years was just like those lights. It was about to go out. And we had to, the community center debt, yes, we have moved that over to SPLOST and take it out of general fund, but it will be another fiscal year before that comes off the general fund, because we have to raise that money through that SPLOST in order to pay that debt with SPLOST instead of general fund. We had to buy new garbage trucks, new ambulances, which, you say, well, what's the big deal about a garbage truck? And I told someone the other day, in my community, people couldn't walk down there in their neighborhoods at night because the garbage truck seal was such that it was leaking. So they had that terrible smell every day after the garbage truck went through their communities. And that's $250,000 right there. An ambulance that we were afraid to put on the streets. And we have an aging population, and we just had to stop and buy a new ambulance. And so the Melody Lakes Dam, that's an issue that none of us wanted to address. We kept gathering information, looking for a really cheap solution, and the solution that we selected, working with the homeowners there, is now sitting on the desk in Atlanta. We're waiting for that approval. We don't know when that will come. But, and I want to talk a little bit about the Grove project. The reason nothing was done is because the developer stopped working on that project for all of the recession. So we didn't know if they were ever going to pick that project back up. We thought they were. We would hear that they were, but we didn't know when. So we didn't invest on carrying that water line or making that water line larger until now they've said, yes, we're ready to begin that project. And that's a contractual agreement that occurred at the beginning of the Grove project there were just, one or two of us on the commission at that time. So it's like Mr. Lang said, it's like kick the can down the road and now we're having to face the music. But the most important part of all of this is that we get an email from our sheriff almost monthly saying, lost another deputy, can't maintain deputies. From EMS, we can't maintain our folks. People around us are paying more. We train them, they go somewhere else to work. And we have got to address that salary issue. In 2017, I voted against the 2.5, not because I didn't believe we needed additional money, but I just thought that was too much at one time. And here we are again with this one, and this 0.75 be about $44 on the $200,000 home when you factor in the Board of Education's reduction. So I'm going to support this one, but I'm really, really hopeful that this will be the last increase we'll have to see in several years. And we've looked at our projections and we believe that that is the case.
Well, I'll say this. Ms. Connie, you're absolutely correct. I didn't want to raise taxes, don't want to raise taxes. I own a lot of land here just like everyone else. And I have elderly grandparents and aunts and uncles. I was on that side. Now that I'm on this side, and I saw what the tornado did to us, where we started using monies we really didn't have to try to fix things, where I started seeing that we were losing employees constantly that are just going to other counties. And then I have people coming up to me, why can't the roads get cut? Why can't we get this? Why can't we get that? And then I go to Public Works, and we have 3 employees, 4 employees, because they're leaving. So I got to looking into it. And to me, my #1 priority is to try to make sure that we get our employees' salaries competitive so that they stay here, so that we all can enjoy the life that we want to have in this county. We want to be safe, and we want to have as many amenities as we can, as long as we don't turn into Atlanta. And and so I have gone back and forth about this, because I'm going to have to pay taxes just like everyone else. But when I keep getting those emails and I keep getting this, that everybody's leaving, my biggest concern is, and I made this comment to the rest of the board, how long can we keep this ship afloat if we keep taking from our reserves? And if I want to leave this county in a better place for my children and my grandchildren, then I may have to make the hard decision to make sure this ship floats. I believe, like Ms. Andrews, I think if this happens now, I think we should be good from what we've been told for a while. The problem is that if we do it for a while, and this is not me placing blame on anyone, but if we do it like we did before, where we went about 10 or 11 years and stayed stagnant, and the cost of everything went up, then we may be in the same boat. I may not be here. I may not be on this earth. I can't think that far ahead, but I can think of what's going to happen within the next year when we get this salary study done, and hopefully we will get the information we need to fix our employees' salaries. I'm kind of like Ms. Andrews. I really don't want to do this, but being on this side, I feel in my heart that it is the thing I should do, even though my head says not to. And sometimes you got to make that decision. You want to go with your head, or you want to go with your heart. In my heart, I think this is the best thing for our county at this time. I could be wrong, but I have to go with what my heart says, and I think this may help us, because I can't see us continually taking from our reserves, and what if we have another disaster? We've been hit with a tornado twice in the last 6-7 years, and I just, hopefully it never happens again. But I don't want us to be in the boat where we're stuck and we can't do what we need to do to provide the services for our people and to make sure that we have our people that are here in place for our public safety. So in this instance, as much as I agree with you, and that's what I feel up here, right here, in this time, I have to support that this is what we have to do. But I can promise you, my number one priority is to fix the problem with our county employees. We've mentioned other things. My priority is I want to fix what's wrong, I won't say wrong, but a deficit that we need for our county employees. So just know that that's where my priority is for our county people, our county employees. I'm not really concerned about all this other stuff, that'll just have to come later. So I just wanted you to know that, Miss Connie, because we had a good dinner and we had a good conversation.
I listen.
Okay, I guess it's my turn. And as usual, I'm the Lone Ranger here. I'm not going to support, I can't support the increase in the millage rate. I felt like that this year we had an opportunity to give our taxpayers a slight break on their taxes, and I still feel that way. So I will not be supporting the increase in the millage rate. But I certainly understand where all my colleagues are coming from, and I respect their opinions. So, and that's about it. I just felt like that we could do that for 1 year at least. We could give our taxpayers a break. Any other comments? All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor of raising the tax millage rate to 9.38, please raise your hand. All right, and all those opposed. So the millage rate will now be 9.38. All right, the next item on our agenda is the county manager budgets.
Madam Chairman, Board of Commissioners, item number 7, bid award for road striping. The county did get a grant from the Georgia Department of Transportation this year of $50,000 to be used for road signing and marking improvements. We received this monetary grant award in March, and the county is required to provide a 10% match for a total project cost of $55,000. The Public Works Director compiled a list of 16 county roads, about 21.57 miles, that is in need of striping and restriping, and the board approved this that list during March of this year. Bids were requested for this road improvement project, and 2 bids were received. Peak Pavement Markings out of Columbus, their bid was $50,715. And then Mid-State Striping was $58,564. However, the low bidder had only bid of $50,715 for 16 county roads, and therefore the grant could not be maximized. Therefore, 2 additional roads were selected by the Public Works Director and added at the same unit cost in order to receive the full grant award. So staff recommends the board award the bid to the low bidder, Peak Pavement Markings, for $55,085. And Peak Pavement is in agreement with the additional 2 roads to be added. Funding for this project was budgeted, and the $50,000 will come from the Georgia Department of Transportation, which has already been received, and the required 10% match will come from SPLOST 2014. This road improvement project, if approved, is scheduled to be completed by November of this year. So basically, staff recommends the board to award.
I'll make the motion that we award the bid to Peak Pavement Marking for $55,085 for the restructuring of these roads. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any questions?
I would just like to make a comment. Mr. Dowling mentioned that we have a 10% match. Earlier, we heard from Mr. Livingston that we were one of 3 counties, 3 areas in the state that approved the TIA-SPLOST. One of the things that goes with the approval of the TIA-SPLOST, instead of having to pay a 30% match for any project that DOT does, we only have to pay a 10% match. So on this one item here is a $10,000 savings by having that. So just like to mention.
Thank you. All right. All those in favor? Okay, next item.
Madam Chairman, Board of Commissioners, this is another bid award for the repair of Ellerslie Park Lodge. During the March 2019 tornado, the county's Ellerslie Park Lodge was damaged. And just like all the other property owners in that area, the county did receive insurance proceeds in the amount of $70,775.23 to repair the facility. Bids were requested for the repairs, and only one bid was received on August the 6th. And they were, the low bid, the only bid was $139,455, when the insurance proceeds is $70,775.23. Due to having a sole bidder and the difference of $68,679.77 between the insurance proceeds received and the bid amount, it is being recommended by staff that this bid be rejected and another bid requested and to be advertised and to go to another bid process in order to get additional bidders and more competitive bidding. We are also, like many other property owners in the area, arguing with our insurance company to get additional funds toward this project. So staff recommends rejection of the bid and authorize staff to go out and rebid.
Did they say a reason of why it was such a big difference?
No.
No, I was just curious of why they were $68,000, roughly $69,000 more. That's almost double what the insurance was giving.
I think part of it may be due to there was so much damage in the area that all of the builders and repair folks were just covered up from work to do, and they pretty much charged what they wanted to charge. And this delay and going out to rebid, maybe a lot of those things have been taken care of, and we can do better. So I would make a motion we reject the bid.
Okay, and I will second that. Any other questions or any discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion to reject the bid? All right, motion carries. Okay, next one, Randy.
Madam Chairman, Board of Commissioners, item number 9. This is the final audit cleanup budget amendment for the fiscal year. I'm going to let the county's Chief Financial Officer, Clint Chastain, come and present the final budget adjustment for the year in order to complete the audit.
Madam Chairman, Commissioners, again, this is my annual exercise at the year-end audit time and at the end of the budget, where we go through and verify that the books are ready to be closed. Each department in the general fund and other funds have sufficient budget authority at the end of the year for their spending. What will happen if we do not do this is the part of the audit, part of GAAP, looks at whether budgets have budgetary authority to spend, and if they go over that amount, we have to find it within our audit. So we make these amendments to clean that up. The first budget amendment that we have in here, our budget amendment number 10, is for the general fund, hitting several departments. The only department within the general fund that actually went over budget this year was community center. And it was slightly over budget. Some of the reasonings that I told you that we had, we had put a budget in place that was based off of hours that were budgeted toward the pool that was closed down for several months, or a month within the summer in the prior year, and that led to a budget. We based our numbers off the next year budget that weren't sufficient to cover those, but we do have the funds to cover those, and this amendment will help to make them. So community center was the only one. Now there were several others that are approaching their 100% of their budget at year end, but they're not quite there. And what this budget amendment also does is at year end, after we're closing the books, all the way through July, up through August, and even possibly into September while the audit's going on, we have to make sure no other invoices come in that relate to fiscal year 19. if those come in, that expense has to come back to the 19th budget. What this does is just adds a little bit of cushion in to make sure that we have that proper spending authority. The places, so this is not an increase to the general fund's budget. This is a reclassification of surplus that we have within this year's budget that we're moving to other departments within here. The first place where we're pulling that money from is under non-departmental. We had budgeted $85,000 for the health reimbursement arrangement. At the beginning of the year, we don't know exactly which departments are going to utilize the health reimbursement arrangements. At the end of the year, we have the listing, we know that amount is being moved to each department. The other portion that we have is $86,000 for various capital outlays, in this case within Public Works. One of those was a savings that Public Works was able to obtain with the purchase of some tractors. There was a big savings that we saw on that that allowed for us to pull from those capital outlays, and several others within the budget. So we were able to take that $86,000. But so we moved $171,000, and I'll kind of go down the list here to show you that within the administrative department, we needed to add a little bit of, we needed to add $40,000 for legal fees to help cover that line. Under animal control, we needed to add $10,000 because their new vehicles, one was struck by lightning, and the total electrical system had to be totally redone. The clerk of Superior Court, the health reimbursement arrangement caused an increase there. Again, under the community center, we had to add some $30,000 to make sure we covered the employees from that budget mishap that we had there. Also, $15,000 needed to be added for repairs to the pool that we had this year at the community center. We had $5,000 in the coroner's budget for group insurance. We had $5,000 of extension service that we added in for a travel line for them. Water facilities maintenance, we added in $15,000 for water and sewer, $15,000 for bottled gas. The sheriff's department had some health reimbursement arrangements, HRAs that we needed to add $10,000 for. And vehicle maintenance, we had $10,000 for to add for some employee costs and also for general shop supplies of vehicle maintenance. Again, there was no increase to the total general fund. These were just reclasses to make sure that those are sufficiently covered. There are three more budget amendments. So that was general fund. Budget amendment number 11 is for the hotel motel fund. And what happened here is we had an increase of 3% of the hotel motel tax percentage of 3% to 5%. Well, increasing to that 5%, we actually received more revenue than what we had initially anticipated, even after we had readjusted the budgets for the 5%. Well, and then when we get that money in, we're taking that money and sending it totally to the Chamber of Commerce. And so our expenditure was going to be more than what we had put in the budget for the expenditure authority. So I needed to add about $20,000 on, and that's coming from the additional revenue that we've collected within the hotel motel tax. And if you guys have any questions on any of these, you don't have to wait till the end. We can talk about them now.
Let me go back to the general fund.
Okay.
The vehicle maintenance of $10,000 to $20,000 total. Why was that? Why were we on that?
In vehicle maintenance, I believe that they had an employee that left, and we replaced that employee with someone that came in at a higher rate than what the other employee had that we had initially budgeted for. We don't necessarily need $10,000 for that, but it's approaching that, maybe $7,500, and I'm just putting a little bit of cushion, extra cushion in there. The amounts are there.
And some of these other ones, employees, when it comes to employees, we would budget single-family coverage for certain employees. That person would leave, a new person would come on board with family coverage, and that too many of those would wreck a budget.
Yeah, that's right.
Anybody else have any questions on the general fund? Okay. Continue, please.
Okay. library fund this year performed some upgrades to the courthouse multimedia equipment within the courtrooms. That was not taken into account with the initial budget. The law library has sufficient reserves. I'm recommending that we move $40,000 from the use of those fund reserves to professional services that would cover that expenditure, and those reserves are there within the law library to cover that. The final budget amendment number 13, was for the SPLOST 2004 fund. At the beginning of the year, while we were working on the 19 budget a year and a half ago, we had estimated there would be approximately $100,000 left in that bank account. At the end of the year, there was $136,000 left. So our expenditure budget was $100,000. We needed to spend the full $136,000. This budget amendment for $40,000 gives us that sufficient budget authority to make those final expenditures that we made to pay part to close out the 2004 SPLOST. So that's what this budget amendment is doing. Those are the 4 budget amendments, the only ones that we need to prep us for the upcoming audit and to keep us in line with the gap presentation and for audit purposes.
Anybody have any questions or Clint? There's no questions, no discussion, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept this bill of payments.
And I will second that. All those in favor? All right, motion carries. Thank you, Clint. Okay, next one, Randy.
Madam Chairman, Board of Commissioners, again, a quick review of all the project updates. In the budget, there are about 46 items that have budgeted expenses that need to be completed by the end of the fiscal year in June next year. Some highlights: number 2, countywide email system. We're still preparing bid specs on that. Hopefully get that out pretty soon, as well as a replacement telephone system. Just hitting the highlights. Number 13, that was approved by the board tonight, so we are proceeding with that, and it should be completed by Thanksgiving, the restriping of 18 county roads, and the listing of those roads will be on the county's website tomorrow morning. On number 14, still having right-of-way problems on Pitch Drive. The community center's parking lot was restriped, that's completed. That's number 15. Number 18, the community center's pool equipment. Again, that pool equipment is very expensive to maintain. We are preparing a bid right now to modernize the pool equipment and reconfigure some of the pool equipment and pumps to make it more efficient and better. We found the original designer of the community center pool equipment from Atlanta. We have him come down this week to see his design as it's operational. He wants to make some improvements, some changes to make that community center's pool equipment more efficient and less expensive to maintain and operate. So we're preparing bid specs on that right now. Number 18. Number 21, Ellerslie Park Lodge. We're still arguing with our insurance company to get more money, and we're going to rebid that project. Number 22 is quite interesting. Chip and grind all the collected storm debris from the March 2019 storm that's been disposed of at Ellerslie Park. As of the Victory Grinding, the low bid, he has so far ground 7,770 cubic yards of material and has transported it off-site. So 7,770 cubic yards out of a total budgeted 27,500 cubic yards. So we got about 20,000 more cubic yards to go in the next 45 to 60 days.
But still, that's a good number just in the short time he's been there.
He's been there for maybe 2.5 weeks. Good weather, minimal breakdowns. Brian and I went to see the operation. We go maybe 2 or 3 times a week. That is an impressive operation to see mammoth chunks of trees and wood get cut up, put into a machine, and out comes very fine chip ground metal. And then it's put in a truck, and it's taken to a disposal site for a fuel source in Alabama. So it's going to good use. We're recycling it, basically. It's a pretty impressive operation. And so far, so good. And but we'll keep track of that project. Number 22. Number 24, rebuild the soccer complex pavilion at the soccer complex. The demolition has occurred. We have obtained building permits, and concrete should be being poured later this week.
Did we solve the issue of where they would go to the restrooms?
Yes, we have 2 portalets there right now.
I know how young kids are. I got grandchildren.
So we have 2 portalets on site. And the other pavilion on the other side of the complex is open. Number 26, Roads to Trails project. That is ongoing. Southeastern Development Company out of Newnan received that project, and they are making headway on phase 1 of the Roads to Trails project in Pine Mountain. Phase 2, the bid deadline is August 27th for phase 2 and 3. And that should be on the board's agenda, hopefully maybe early as September 3rd. Number 28, the fence project at the airport. That has been started. They are well on their way. I'd say, I was at the airport today, they're about 75% complete, and no issues so far. They should be finished by late October. Number 40, as discussed earlier today, the Melody Lakes Dam. Again, option A has been submitted to the state, and we are waiting for the state to respond. Number 42, amongst 35 acres at the Northwest Harris Business Park, using SPLOST 2019 funds. Brian Williams and I were up there this week, and that is going, they've been there for 2 weeks, really a week and a half. They got about 5 to 6 acres cleared already. So that is an ongoing project, should be finished in mid-October.
They better probably hurry up. They're gonna get done in October. They ain't done with 5 acres.
And so it's
a week and a half.
About 60 days, mid-October. They're doing about 8 to 10 acres per week. So that's going. So basically, that is it that's the 46 items in a nutshell. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Anybody have any questions? Questions? Thank you, Randy. Mr. County Attorney, you're next.
Yes, ma'am. I have 3 items that the board needs to consider for adoption. One is the increase in the cable TV franchise fee. If you remember several meetings ago, the proposal was discussed to engage the Georgia Municipal Association to assist the county in increasing the cable TV franchise fees from 2%, which the county has, to 5%, which is the state maximum. And I think, as I recall, I think Harris County is the only county in the state that's still at 2%. And what you authorized then a contract with the Georgia Municipal Association to handle that for you. And what you have before you tonight is a resolution that will increase the franchise fee, cable and video state franchise fees from 2% to 5%. And there are roughly, I think there are only 3 cable franchises in the county, and those are Charter, WOW, which is out of West Point, and then Mediacom. What GMA will do once they receive this resolution that you I presume you will adopt tonight, they will take that to the Secretary of State and then also provide it to all these 3 cable franchise operators and then it will go into effect on a quarterly basis, and the new rate will go up probably around January. The estimate is that you'll receive $120,000 additionally in cable franchise fee for the next year. I reviewed the resolutions. It's simple, very straightforward resolution, and once they get this, they will notify, GMA will notify the 3 carriers as well as Secretary of State, and then that will go into effect at the next quarter. I recommend it to you for your approval.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Are all the cities already at 5?
I think that's right.
So,
I think you're right.
so we were the only county, but all our cities were at 5.
Any other questions or any discussion? All right, is there a motion? Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second? Motion and a second to increase the cable TV franchise fee from 2% to 5%. All those in favor? Motion carries. All right, sir.
Yes, ma'am. The second item on the agenda is a contract that's been on the agenda for quite some while every year, and it deals with trailer business services. And the trailer business services provide personal property evaluations. The tax commissioner, Wayne, can speak to this, has to evaluate 2 types of property. One is real property, and they can evaluate and assess that property. And then also there's personal property, and a lot of that personal property belongs to businesses. And what trailer does is once the Board of Tax Assessors makes a decision that they need an evaluation and an assessment of a particular business and their fair market value of their equipment that is of course taxable, then the trailer does it on a ad hoc basis for everything that they requested to do, and then their fees are specified in the contract. They've done a good job over the years, I understand, from Wayne, and they are ready to enter into the same contract again, and there will be no changes in the contract from the past several years. But you need somebody to be able to go out and evaluate property, personal property, and personal property can be anything from tractors to anything else that can be used in a business, and so that's what they will do for the tax assessor, and then that eventually will show up on the tax bill at the millage rate that's assessed. And I recommend that to you for your approval.
And this is the company, Wayne, that we've used for quite some time, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am, since 2004.
Any questions? Is there a motion? Motion and a second to approve. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries.
The last item on the agenda, the last one I have, members of the board, is the Rural Fire Defense Cooperative Lease Agreement. This agreement has been on the agenda for a number of years. The last time we entered into it was 2005. We've got someone here from the state fire, Georgia Forestry Department to kind of explain it to you. But what it is it's a cooperative agreement between the Harris County Fire units as well as the Georgia Forestry, so that if one has a fire and needs help, then Harris County will help the Georgia Forestry Service, and the other way around. If the county needs help, then the Georgia Forestry Service provides that help. It's a cooperative agreement, and it has not changed over the years, and I have recommend it to you, and I will let our representative from the Georgia Forestry Service to explain it to you in a little bit more detail and exactly how it works.
Well, basically, Mr. John has explained it absolutely correct. The reason I'm here tonight is we had a director of the Georgia Forest Commission change, which will enact, every time somebody is replaced, you have to have a new agreement signed. And also, I'm the new county chief ranger for Harris, Talbot, and Muscogee counties, so that name needs to be changed in our agreement. So I'm coming tonight to have the agreement signed and keep in place. Now, however, at this moment, you have no federal fire equipment, excess equipment in Harris County. The last piece of equipment was moved to Talbot County approximately 2 years ago. So you're not under obligation to sign because you do not have any equipment from us on lease in the county. But I think it's a valuable piece of equipment if you choose to proceed in the future to get a piece of equipment. We'll already have that accomplished. So I think it's very valuable. I'm going to keep that door open. And also I brought a couple cards of mine and a county annual report that we submit to the county each year for y'all to look. This is accomplishments last year. It's kind of a slow year. We had a lot of rain, not a lot of fires, not a lot of burning. So last year was kind of slow for us, but who knows what's going to come up this year. And I want to let all the commissioners and the community know it's getting to the time of year. You're going to see a lot of smoke and a lot of burning going, so just know that our county personnel are at work, issuing permits, doing controlled burns, controlling wildfires, and serving. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Talk about that piece of equipment, you said it was moved to Talbot County.
Yes, ma'am.
So, why was it moved, and
Well,
who purchased it, and?
well, it was given to Talbot County. It was an old fire knocker, an outdated piece of equipment. They needed it to keep their ISO rating up for their community, which Harris County has some pretty nice equipment in the stations. They had replaced it with a piece of equipment now under the federal firefighter program, which is a new program that kind of is replacing federal excess property through the state. Which basically in a nutshell, you come to our agency, we can screen through a process a piece of equipment, whether it be a tanker, a brush truck, or what have you. Generators, there's several pieces of federal firefighter property in Harris County in service today, which is kind of the new program. So kind of keeping the old and replacing with some new.
And I know our volunteer fire departments work very closely with you.
Yes, sir. We thank them. We appreciate the job that they do. Couldn't do it without them.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I move that we maintain this agreement.
Okay, and I'll second that. So all those in favor? Okay, motion carries. Don't have anything else?
No, ma'am, there's no need to go into executive session.
Okay, you don't have anything else? Thank you all for coming. I personally am glad to see you here. Glad to hear your comments on the things that we're trying to do. With that, do a motion to adjourn. All right, I'll second.